What is going on, everyone? My name is Northy, and today I'm here with the round 15 preview for the 2023 Teamcoach season. As per usual, we are going to go through the team that I'm looking at chucking in for this next week of competition. Obviously, this is going up on Thursday, so tonight we've got Melbourne versus Geelong. Really exciting stuff, and even a few things that I'm still up for debate regarding that game in hopes that I can make those changes before the game starts. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So star powers, we're going to look. This is a really tough one this week. So Supreme for our silver star powers is going to be Rory Laird. He jumps in. It was between him and James Sicily, but there's a part of me that thinks James Sicily isn't going to be necessary as much this week as they are up against Gold Coast from a poor week. So we'll see what happens there. But the next one we've got is Luke Parker. I think he was probably an easier pick out of all of these ones for me. I know the Dacos is in there. There's probably some others who'd even have better weeks, like Petraka could potentially be better, but Luke Parker is in this week as Sydney are playing West Coast. You got to find the mismatches, and so that's what I've done. Sydney up against West Coast this week, so I've chucked in Parker. Same goes with Chad Warner. Zach Bailey is still playing this week and coming off a good week, so I thought maybe chuck him in, but no, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to keep him out. I was also thinking maybe Nick Martin because he's had a lot of pretty good games so far, but we're going to go with Chad Warner again because they're up against West Coast. Then we've got a very kind of, I guess, back and forth pick. So first off, we've got sharpshooters. Mitch Lewis. He has been very good for Hawthorn the last few games he's played. He's averaging 80 for the season as well. 3 goals a game is pretty good. You just got to hope that he makes the most of his opportunity against Gold Coast, as he does like to get up the ground a little bit, which is helpful. But I'd like to see him try and hit the scoreboard just as much as he has been for a while. So yeah, can only hope for the best for Mitch Lewis. But we also go to Epic. We're going with Jared Witts. This was a really tough week for Epic picks because we don't have Sam Doherty, we don't have Tom Liberatore, and we don't have Toby Green. Trent Cotchin is the most likely pick out of recent good players, but again, he's out. So we've gone with Jared Witts, and I've looked through to see if any of these players here could maybe do well. I know I've picked Bruce in the past. Rory Sloane can find himself in the midfield sometimes, but I've gone with Jared Witts as he is going up against Hawthorn's Ned Reeves in the ruck, I believe. So my hope is that maybe he's able to establish his dominance over Ned Reeves in this game, but who knows, man. Jared Witts isn't as good as he was last year, it feels like sometimes. Although he is averaging 102, he is nowhere near the top this year for the ruckman. So we go over to Ultra, and this one is a bit up for debate still. Really happy I've got double points Luke Parker this week. I am not making the same mistake. I am chucking in Luke Parker. 126 last week, and when they're up against West Coast, you can only expect a bit more. Chad Warner stays in as well. My only double points player for the Young Guns area is Tom Green, and obviously he's not playing, so we're going with a regular Chad Warner. I've chucked in a double points Rory Sloane. My other picks here were Steel Sidebottom or Luke Bruce. Bruce, I know, is coming off an injury. Rory Sloane, he's been okay so far, so I'm hopeful that he'll pick it up. The Supreme side of things, this one is still up for debate. So I've chucked in Tim Kelly kind of as a placeholder, but I'm waiting for news on Clayton Oliver. You can see here, I've got double point Clayton Oliver ready to go. If he is playing, he is being chucked in. There is a risk to it because, again, he's also coming off of injury, so he may be rested a little more. He may not get as involved as other players will be, purely because he's coming back from injury, but I'm going to take the risk anyways. I think Tim Kelly has been serviceable for the time that he's been my double points player for the Supreme end of things, but I'm going to chuck Clayton Oliver in. Realistically, the safest bet right now is, Rory Laird. Rory Laird is the safest bet, but I don't have double points to him. I have double points to Clayton Oliver. We're chucking in Clayton. And finally, we've got ourselves the sharp shooters section. This one was by far the toughest this week. I was looking for my Mitch Lewis Silver. Apparently, I don't have it, and I don't know why it's not in my album. I can't find it. So I've chucked in Charlie Cameron, and I already know that is going to be a decision that costs me big time, because I guarantee you Charlie does not have a good game. It's annoying, but it's just the reality of things. It seems to keep happening. So we're going Charlie Cameron, hoping I can find a Mitch Lewis Silver somewhere, because I swear I have him. I swear I've seen him, but I just don't have him in my album for some reason. So that is star powers for the week. Now, we go over to top team, and talking about James Sicily before has reminded me of something. I'm going to quickly switch him out of top 18. I've got Bradley Hill in there as a placeholder, but if you are unaware, James Sicily has been suspended again. He is not going to be playing for a bit. Do not make the mistake I nearly just did and chuck him in. Do not do that. But have a look here. This is what we've got for top 4. You can see my big man pick for this week is Jared Witts. I was thinking Rowan Marshall or Oscar McInerney. However, both of these guys are coming up against each other. I was thinking maybe Rowan Marshall could have a good game. Oscar McInerney was above average for last week. Rowan Marshall averages 120. However, I've chucked in Jared Witts again in hopes that he's able to utilize the mismatch. Looking at the rest, Rory Laird is our midfielder this week. Really interesting week for midfielders. No Bonts, no Taranto, no Chera, no Kelly, no Cochin, no Martin. Dunkley is the next one in. You can see here, Oliver may not even be in. Parrish and Merritt haven't been too bad. I've been thinking about Merritt, but I ended up sticking with Laird because Laird can be very reliable for easy possessions. He gets involved a lot. High tackle counts is usually his goal, and when Collingwood have the ball for as long as they do and the skill level they have, Rory Laird could be really good this game for points. So we've chucked him in there. We go to our back line, and this week we're hopeful that Jack Sinclair stands up yet again. 100 points would be ideal, would be lovely this week if we can manage to knock that one out of the park, because Sinclair, again, he's off an All-Australian season. I've mentioned it in previous videos. I think he could do it again, but maybe not as good as he was last year. He's averaging more points, sure, but I feel like he's been just a little less noticeable this year. Maybe I'm wrong and I just haven't been paying enough attention to him, but I know Jack Sinclair is a great player, and I'm hopeful that he'll be able to smash out a great performance for us again. They come up against Brisbane, so in all likelihood they will need him. But let's hope that Sinclair can have a great game. And then lastly, forwards, we're going with Errol Goulden, 108 last week, averaging 114 for the season again. Probably the easiest pick out of them for the moment. Zach Bailey, a few may pick up, considering he's coming off a good week. However, we're going to stick with Goulden. I believe in the man in hopes that he can get some touches on the ball. Some surprises here and there that I'm thinking of. The only one I can think of is maybe a Sydney player. But you can see here, 2 Sydney players are out injured, with Franklin and Heaney both out. I was thinking chucking Heaney in, then I remembered, again, probably out because of injury. Papley is probably the most likely out of all of them then to have a good one, if any. But I'm sticking with Goulden because Goulden, again, he's got the mismatch. He can play on ball. He can kick goals. He's having a decent season so far. I'm hopeful that we can get a good performance out of him, and he's going to be our standout. So this is what we've got going into top 4 this week. Top 18. Now, as I mentioned, do not do what I did nearly and pick up James Sicily. Switch him out. Next, though, this week is looking very interesting. Lots of red is the main color, it looks like. So we'll start with midfielders. Obviously, Witts we talked about before. Midfielders are Parker, Dunkley, Laird, Merritt, and Oliver. Oliver is subject to change, dependent on whether he's actually playing or not. And honestly, I'm not even too sure who he'd be swapping in with if he is not playing. But we will find someone eventually. Likelihood is Lockie Neal, maybe James Rowbottom, considering that they are up against a pretty meh team. Chad Warner may even get the call up, who knows. But Oliver is going to stay in there until I get news that he isn't playing or he is playing and he stays in there. We go to defenders. Dacos comes back in. I've decided to go with Maynard this week, coming off a pretty good game. Who was it against? It was Collingwood's Melbourne. Although they didn't come away with a win, it was a very good game from Maynard, and I'm hopeful that he can do it again up against Adelaide, I believe. So a really interesting one there. Lukosius is getting the call up. I know he's been finding himself in the forward line a little as well this season, but he's been back and forth so far this season. I'm hopeful that Lukosius up against Hawthorn can be really, really helpful, both forward and back. I feel like that game's going to be a lot closer than people may expect. Sinclair, as I mentioned, he's staying in. Bradley Hill, it was kind of just a placeholder for the moment while I realized that Sicily wasn't playing. Bradley Hill may make it in. I'm not sure. Again, may switch it out dependent on if I see anyone that I think could be better, but I don't remember anyone off the top of my head being much better than a Bradley Hill pickup. He's only averaging 84 for the season, and looking through here, I'm not seeing anyone doing too much more. Maybe a Mason Redman. Will Day could even see some time. I'm not too sure. We'll figure it out. But nonetheless, that is our back line. Then we go to the forward line. Goulden, as I mentioned, we've chucked in Bailey as a little pickup, as he did get 112 last week. May as well reward the man with a pickup this week. Nick Martin, I'm really confident with this young man. I really hope that he can keep up his really good form over the last few weeks that he's been playing. Dylan Moore, because they are up against Gold Coast, and I'd expect him to have a fair impact this week. Jake Stringer, I've chucked him in as, again, just with these bye weeks, you struggle a lot because there's a lot of players you go, oh, I don't think I can rely on him too much. But then again, Jake Stringer only averaging 68 points this season. I'm going to chuck him in up against a struggling Freo side, so I'm hopeful that he'll work out. And then Jeremy Cameron, I'm actually going to switch you out last second. I'm switching you out for Luke Jackson. I think Luke Jackson definitely deserves a spot, although he isn't winning games as much. He's got a really good opportunity to keep smashing out some high point performances. You can see last week in the 70-point loss, 94 points. Helpful as a ruckman, and you can hope that against Essendon, maybe they make it a bit closer and Luke Jackson plays a bigger part. So I'm hopeful that this is a winning team. I have no reason why it can't be. I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be a winning team. Maybe if I forget a few players or not, then maybe I could see a loss. But nonetheless, this is a half decent team. I'm happy with this one. This is pretty good. Last week, missed out by one player pretty much. That ruined us. Ranked 41 for the week. So let's hope that we can get that into prize card territory. That'd be really, really nice. But nonetheless, that is all for the games. Then we go to our tips. This one, we've got ourselves. I have tipped them already, and I'll go through who I've picked out. First off, I'm going Melbourne over Geelong. Geelong is always hard to read. I really think this year, whenever Geelong plays, it's dependent on whether their best team shows up or their worst team. So I'm going to say Melbourne ends up taking this one. Brisbane versus St Kilda. I'm going Brisbane. I think the talent on the Brisbane is higher than St Kilda. And honestly, both teams are so flaky at times. It's really hard to get a gauge on who can take this matchup. I'm going to say Brisbane though. Sydney versus West Coast, probably the easiest one being Sydney. Freo versus Essendon. I'm picking Essendon, but I wouldn't be surprised if Freo takes it, as they have a habit of showing out one week and then falling off the next. They're coming off a really poor week, so maybe it's time to bounce back. Who knows? But Collingwood versus Adelaide. Gotta go with Collingwood. I believe they're tied top of the ladder with Port. So again, no reason not to pick them. And last week was a pretty hard-fought loss against Melbourne, unfortunately for them. But again, Adelaide, unless it's at Adelaide Oval, I really think Collingwood will take this quite easily. And then Gold Coast versus Hawthorn. I'm actually tipping Hawthorn. Hawthorn have shown a lot more fight and a lot more team spirit than Gold Coast have over the last couple of weeks. And I'm confident that Hawthorn can take this one. I think Gold Coast at their best take it, but Hawthorn have freaking heart, man. They're a really, really tough side to beat when they all believe. So that's what I'm going with. Maybe without Sicily, this ends up being a mistake. I think Gold Coast could run over the top of them. I have faith in this team, man. I really do. I think Hawthorn have been slightly impressive considering how everyone expected them to tank this year. So nice to see Hawthorn doing their thing. But that is all I've got for this week. Round 15. Hopefully you guys have a good round yourselves. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, click the video on the screen to see the results from last week and get a good recap on that one and see what we do on a regular basis during the rounds. And if you did enjoy it and want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.